We're going to take a closer look now at the situation inside Gaza with Delano D'Souza, who joins me on the set. Delano, it's been 2 days now since that attack that killed 7 aid workers from World Central Kitchen. Let's talk a bit more about that charity itself. What more can you tell us about its operation in the region?
Well, Jeannie, the US-based NGO World Central Kitchen has been operating in the region right since the get-go of this conflict. They, in fact, even distributed food to displaced Israelis in the aftermath of those October 7th attacks. And they have been in Gaza for 175 days now. That's pretty much the entire duration of this conflict. Now, while we often focus on the big international organizations like the World Food Programme or the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, the World Central Kitchen has been on the ground. They have 68 community kitchens in the enclave and have sent in 1,700 trucks of food from Egypt through the Rafah border crossing into Gaza. Now, like other humanitarian organizations, the big UN humanitarian organizations, they too have been sounding the alarm on how more aid needs to be getting into Gaza. They wanted 20 trucks of theirs to enter through the Rafah border crossing per day, but Israel's cumbersome inspection process sometimes prevented that from happening. Sometimes they had no trucks enter the Rafah border crossing. So they started airdropping food. Obviously, they're an NGO. They can't afford to do this by themselves. So they used the Jordanian Air Force for help to airdrop food. They managed to airdrop some 230,000 meals into northern Gaza. Recently, the World Central Kitchen came into focus. You and I spoke about this because they started ferrying food from Cyprus into Gaza. They managed to get in about 435,000 meals sent in by ship. They had on Monday night, coordinated with the Israeli army when they were on the move, as you do when you're in a war zone. As Rob mentioned there, the 7 staff were in a deconflicted zone. What does deconflicted zone mean, Jeannie? Well, according to the World Health Organization, it means that both sides know these cars are on the move. Both sides have agreed. This car as well, as you can see in some of the images here, was very well marked with the logo of the World Central Kitchen. We've been telling you how many residents of Gaza are on the brink of starvation. Well, now they're one step closer towards that because this NGO has announced that they're pausing their operations in the enclave because of the deaths of its staff on Monday night.
It really is just layer after layer of tragedy in this story. But as tragic as it all is, this actually wasn't the first time that aid workers have been targeted.
Exactly, Jeannie. Unfortunately, this has happened before. Hundreds of aid workers have died doing their jobs on the ground in Gaza. This story of the World Central Kitchen staff being targeted, of course, is making international headlines, as it should, because these were amazing people in a very dangerous place, helping out people in need. But they're also foreign nationals, which is why it's garnering so much attention, which is why we have had heads of state coming out. And what's different this time around? We have a mea culpa from Israeli authorities. We had, as you said, the chief of staff who came out and apologized effectively. We had Benjamin Netanyahu, who's pretty much said the same thing, although Netanyahu did say that this sort of thing happens in conflict. And this isn't the first time it's happened. The UN's Agency for Palestinian Refugees says 176 members of its staff have died on the ground in Gaza, and they're not alone. Take a listen.
We've seen the statements come out of Israel saying that there's an investigation going on. It will be made public. We very much look forward to that. But we also remember that a number of our colleagues have also been killed in strikes on UNRWA premises, on locations that were deconflicted. So there was UNRWA, UNDP, IOM, World Food Programme. They were also in places that were clearly deconflicted.
So there you heard from the spokesperson of the UN Secretary General listing out the organizations that have lost staff members on the ground in Gaza. But unfortunately, Jeannie, these deaths don't make international headlines because these are local staff. These are Palestinians. It's awful to say, but it's true. It must be said. In a statement from Samantha Power, that's the administrator of the US's development agency, USAID, she put out a statement just yesterday where she said more aid workers have been killed in the 6 months of this war than during any previous conflict in history.